You're listening to Captain John Doe, real aviation stories told anonymously. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Captain John Doe podcast. I love Wednesdays.
What's up? I am your favorite host, Kevin, assisted by my beautiful wife.
Yeah, the not so favorite host. And I love this ongoing joke. We were just talking about it with some friends. You are obviously a favorite host. People do love your hosting skills, but it's become an inside joke with our listeners to the point where people see us out in the wild and they'll stop us saying, hey, we love your podcast, but we really just want to meet our favorite host.
Well, okay. Real quick, we'll give Mindy a little cred right here, Doe heads. Shout out to Mindy's birthday.
Oh, I didn't know that was coming.
It was Mindy's birthday just the other day. And it's
my third 29th birthday.
Right. I wasn't going to say how old you were.
29, 3 times.
Third time. 1, 2, 3.
Wait, 1,
that would make
2,
sense.
3. No, it's my fourth 29th birthday.
Fourth 29th birthday.
Because you got to count 29. My real 29th.
Oh, well, you guys do the math on how old Schminschmong is.
Don't.
But it was her birthday, so everybody, happy birthday, Schmindy.
Are you going to sing?
Happy birthday. No, I'm not going to sing.
Okay. You know, a friend and I were discussing this on my birthday because she called and saying, I got several phone calls on my birthday where I answered and immediately was met with the happy birthday song. And after she finished, and I was just like the whole time she was singing, I was like, there we go. Hit the note. Keep it going. You better finish the whole song. And then we were just talking about how awkward and monotone the happy birthday song is.
I don't think that it's supposed to be the most upbeat banger of all
time. It's supposed to be upbeat. It's a birthday. And it's the worst song ever created.
Why don't you come up with a different one?
Well, her suggestion, shout out Annie, was everyone should be singing the Stevie Wonder Happy Birthday. And I was like, which one is that again? She's like, it's the Happy Birthday.
Happy Birthday. It's like the church.
Yeah,
version.
Yeah. It's very like
yeah, the choir's coming in.
But it's got energy. Because think about the Happy Birthday song. It is so monotone.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. It doesn't make anyone feel good. The person getting sang to doesn't feel good. And the people singing don't feel good. I think everyone is waiting for the song to end with the same degree of angst.
Angst? That is a good point.
I was thinking antsy, but angst.
Yeah, I don't. I for some reason I agree 100% with you for once.
Wow.
That like when you start singing the song, you can't wait for it to end.
Yeah, you're like, man, why did I start singing this person happy birthday? I wish I didn't commit to this, but now I'm committed. I'm just going to get it over with.
Well, let's do it. Happy birthday.
No, but
you know, one of our buddies was mentioning that when I get off the rails, you should put one of those little soundboard things in to reel me back in. Right now, we need one of those to reel us back in.
I'm not against it. It's very cheesy, but it's very hilarious. And
production value here. Whew.
I think that our listeners enjoy the cheese. You know, so whoa, twins.
Jinx.
Pinch poke.
Can you get me a, what do we call a fridge ciggy?
Yeah, do you guys know what fridge cigs are?
I do.
Fridge cigs are traditionally, I think it came from TikTok, but most people call a Diet Coke a fridge cig. And we just taught our friends this, which is why it's relevant. It comes from people that don't smoke cigarettes. At the end of a long day, what's that moment and that thing that you crave that just like lets you put your hair down and your shoulders down? So for a lot of people, that's cracking open an ice cold Diet Coke. Ooh. And just the sound that like, yep, and the cold, and you see it fizzing through the top. That's called a fridge cig.
What are we making an ad right now?
Fridge cigarette. Well, no, because I don't even like Coke.
Oh, she said it.
I'm a Pepsi gal.
She said it.
Through and through, I'm a Pepsi gal.
You know, once again, I'm going to agree with you.
This is controversial.
I don't want Diet Coke. And we don't drink Coke because we don't drink our calories. That's what we say, right?
Yeah.
But I would pick the Pepsi Zero 100 times over.
Or even Diet Pepsi.
Diet Dr. P, though, chef's
That's
kiss.
That's not even my favorite. Okay, we're off topic. One thing that we wanted to talk about, as Kevin and I have been flying a lot of different planes lately, is the thought process and how things go when you're flying your own airplane versus flying someone else's. How is that different? What thoughts are different for you, and how are you treating it differently?
It is unbelievably different, and not the sense how we fly, right? When we're in the air, we're going to do everything the same. But from the pre-flight, from the getting to the hangar to the pre-flight is wildly different, because with our airplane, we left it, right? We are the last person to check it. We know what we put in the maintenance logs. We know what databases have been up to date. We know exactly where everything should be. Whereas when you're flying any other plane, you don't know that information.
Right. And it's your point of how we left it. That does not mean that we skip pre-flight. Because I do see a lot of aircraft owners put their plane in the hangar, and then I see them from afar across the ramp, come to the airport, open their hangar, get right in the airplane, and leave without pre-flight.
Right. I'm not talking about pre-flight. Pre-flight and on, everything is...
No. You didn't let me make my point.
Sorry,
yet.
Go ahead.
I need that reel in. Reel it in, Kevs. My point is, we know exactly how we left it. So if we came to the plane and during pre-flight, it would be so obvious to us if something had changed. For example, if we get to our hangar and we see a couple of drips underneath the nose wheel area of oil, we know that that's really normal for our plane, and we know how much is normal for our plane, or for example. But if you go to someone else's hangar, as someone else's plane, you're like, oh, is that normal? I don't know. And if you're not with the owner, it's really difficult to truly know that plane, right?
Especially flight school planes that are in community hangars, because that oil drip or that fuel drip might not be from that plane. And a lot of times they're pulling it out of the hangar. So if you have a rental reservation, they may be pulling it onto the ramp for you. So you don't even get those clues, those little Blue's Clues of looking at a hangar floor, which to me is a crucial part of a pre-flight. But you don't get that opportunity when you're renting a plane sometimes, or you're at a flight school, because they move around so much, to your point. So it might not even be in the same spot in the hangar that it overnighted in. So you don't get all those extra clues, which really help tell a story. It does. It doesn't mean, like Mindy said, I want to be crystal clear, that we are not doing our pre-flight and everything. That never will ever change.
We have more data than other people.
More data is the biggest thing.
Yeah, but also just especially with old airplanes like ours, when you have an ancient bird, as you guys know, built in 1957. These old planes have personality, I'll say. And they have isms. They have quirks. Ooh. And when you go fly someone else's old plane, if you didn't get properly checked out, it is really hard to know what's normal for that plane and what's not. And you might be a fresh private pilot and you've only flown one or two planes before, and you might be thinking, no, like all planes are the same. Like if you get in and you see this weird indication, you should be landing immediately. But what you may not realize yet is, as you start flying more airplanes, like it might be normal for that plane. And only the owner of that plane would be able to tell you, like, oh yeah, like sometimes this comes up. I talked to my mechanic. They said it's XYZ. It's not an airworthiness item, blah, blah, blah. It just, these planes are like their own beings. Like they have
100%.
Their own personality.
Right. No, I love it. Yeah, I mean, this is a topic that's hard for 90% of the people listening who don't own airplanes. So like you never really think about this. But if you are in the future buying an airplane, you'll understand what we're talking about.
Yeah. And then all this conversation becomes almost irrelevant with new planes or newer planes, right? So like we have the opportunity to fly a lot of newer Cessnas and Cirruses and stuff. And pretty much if you're in a 1 to 5 year old airplane, whatever model that is, they are all pretty identical. And you will, if something comes up on the flight that's abnormal, that probably is abnormal.
100%. I like that point too.
Yeah, it just like
we had 22 different Cirruses at my flight school, and I would say your point was very true. If there was an abnormality, it was truly not
abnormal,
specific to that airplane.
Right. But if you were flying a 22-year-old Cirrus, you might be like, I wonder if that's normal for this plane.
Yeah, the flaps come down just a little bit slow. It's been a maintenance signed off, airworthiness, everything checks out. But this is just I'm just giving an example.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And then, of course, I don't know. For me, when I fly other people's planes, I just feel too like I'm in their home and in their space. It almost feels like not like you're intruding their privacy. Like you have all their stuff in the pockets and how they like
so
it
weird.
In the glove box. Doesn't it feel like you're in their bedroom?
Yeah, especially when they're not with you.
Right. When they're not with you. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, it's so weird. Yeah.
Yeah, because we both ferry a lot of airplanes. So we're in a lot of people's space. And it just feels like you're in their private space. It's like, I don't want to touch anything. I don't want to move anything.
No, I keep the seat where you don't have to.
Yeah, like truly, for me, I do try to leave the plane exactly how I found it. And I'm in a lot of people's planes because of my sales job. I'm not always flying them, but I am crawling in every space getting listing photos. And so what I do, I have to take everything out of the cabin when I take photos, even though I prep my clients to do that for me before I get there. Do they do that? No. Absolutely not. So I get there and have to take everything out, but I try to remember and or take photos of where everything is. Because like when you're flying your own plane and you reach for the pen that's in the right-hand pocket at the bottom and it's not there and you're in a crucial IMC moment, you get flustered all of a sudden. So I try to set everyone up for success and put everything back where I found it.
The one thing, I'm going to say this with conviction, that I will change when I'm flying someone else's airplane is if they have the audacity to leave the MFD north up, I will change it to track up.
This is as controversial as Coke versus Pepsi.
It should not be controversial.
So the Pepsi is track up.
And then everything else is north up. Why would you fly north up? I've heard this on other podcasts. I've seen this on social media. What are you doing when you're flight planning? North up. On your Garmin Pilot, north up.
Isn't that funny how we prefer it different perspectives on different tools that we're using?
How does ATC call traffic to you?
The clock.
12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, right? If you're north up and you're scanning with your eyeballs outside and then you go inside real quick to cross-reference, that's not 1 o'clock. Okay.
I agree. No, I like track up too because I like the perspective it gives of knowing like, oh, that airport's out my left wing and like I look out and it's out my left wing. I don't have to do the mental math really quick in my head of, oh, but what way's north? Okay, it's actually out this way. Totally agree. That way, everything that's relative to you on the map is truly relative to you with your butt in the seat. But then, yes, on Garmin Pilot and stuff, I use north up.
100%. It is what it is. It is what it is. So since we're on the flight school topic, real quick, give me just one thing that maybe you didn't learn when you were in flight school until you were released into the wild.
I think you don't truly learn how to fly real flights.
Yeah. I think what you mean by that is like you're in this little bubble.
Right.
You don't leave the bubble. At least most people don't get to leave the bubble until they get their first job.
Right. Because, well, to everyone's defense, including my own, when you're flight training, you leaving the bubble, we'll call it, which is your local airports, your local training environments, practice areas, to leave the bubble costs more money.
Right.
And it's not necessary for your license and rating.
And it's not efficient enough for your license and rating.
Correct. So no one really does it unless you plan to be an owner and your instructor's like, hey, let's go do a practice flight to your beach house because we can get cross country time. Then that's when it really applies to people learning. But for most people like you and I, you learn in the bubble. And what we have noticed as we have lived all across the country is the local pilots truly only know that local area. And when they get tasked to leave the bubble, they get very stressed and anxious. Like, I know that you had a few coworkers here in Vegas that had to fly planes to Florida, for example, and they were asking you about clouds.
Right.
And we're like, excuse me?
Yeah. I mean, it's a crazy thing of how geographically centric your training is. And fortunately, my training has been all over the country, and that's not the same for everybody. I've trained in Georgia, Florida, Ohio, Vegas, California, and I've seen the difference. Doesn't make me maverick, right? But the experience knowledge.
No, you're very lucky to have that.
Like I see it as luck, because the biggest thing I think that people should take away from this unsolicited advice is, if you're doing your training in, let's say, Orlando Approach and all the towers associated with it work under one umbrella, and it's all this way. The second you leave that umbrella, you're going to get clearances and instructions that make no sense, because it's not standard phraseology.
Yes.
We want to act like there is standard, but it's not.
It's generally standard, but that is so true. Even air traffic control and airspace has their own local procedures, and the controllers don't even know that it's local, because they get these quote outsiders flying through and they're saying something that's very local. And when the pilot doesn't understand, they are being very punitive about it. Like, what do you mean you don't know this fix that we made up, Right. And they don't even understand, because they don't leave their own bubble.
Right.
But as pilots, and we're flying all over the country, you're interacting with all these different spaces, and it does get difficult, and it's just very difficult sometimes. Like, even some airports you go to, you'll find that some airports, the control tower dictates that you must call up when you're holding short of the runway when you're ready for takeoff. Other ones, if you call that you're holding short of the runway ready for takeoff, what will they do? They will bury you.
They might ignore you too.
They will bury you. There's a couple of airports specific in Florida. I forget which ones, but there was some I went to that if you were to call, it was somewhere in South Florida, if you call short of the runway and say you're ready for takeoff, they will berate you on the radios. But guess what? That is nowhere to be found, that information.
Not for a piston, right?
It is
not for a piston.
Right. It is local knowledge only. It's not on a website. It's not anywhere. You might find it on a Reddit post somewhere, but that's not part of an official pilot briefing. And how would you know unless you're there? And these controllers expect you to know, even though you're not from there.
I'll give you one more example, because we could do an entire podcast about this.
Ticks me off.
Like this, we could talk forever about this, but this is not the show topic. Run-ups, right? Like,
yep.
Run-ups at Henderson, the ATC expects you to do your run-up prior to calling for taxi.
Correct.
That is extremely abnormal.
No.
It's abnormal to do run-ups prior to entering the movement area.
True. We taxi to an area on the ramp without talking to anyone.
That's what I mean.
Yes, that's correct. Because for most pilots, if the wheels are moving, that means they have gotten a clearance to taxi somewhere.
Right.
But there's a large area of the airport at Henderson where you can taxi around freely with no instructions.
Most of it.
Right.
So that's another thing. And you might say, how would you know? Honestly, I go on like Flight Radar and look at ADSB and see where airplanes are staging. And I look at the chart and try to find if there's a run-up area listed. Because if there is, you can guarantee that's where you're going. But if there's not, all bets are off.
So our point is, you can't learn everything in flight school. Kevin...
Not Kevin, me.
You make me lose my train of
Mindy?
thought.
You can't learn everything in flight.
You guys don't have video, so you guys don't understand when Kevin's bothering me.
Always. That's the answer.
And I literally lose my train of thought. Anyway.
Moving on.
Flight schools can't teach you everything. It's things you only learn through experience. And unfortunately, it's things that you're probably going to learn by getting berated on the radio from ATC or by another pilot at some podunk airport that's like, we don't do it that way here. And you're like, sorry, man, I've never been to the armpit of America in Louisiana. And you're like, I don't know.
Are you talking about Shreveport downtown?
Yeah, Shreveport's the armpit.
No, Ohio is.
No, actually, Shreveport downtown is a fantastic airport.
I know. We're just joking because, yeah.
Okay, we're going to actually get in the show now. We've been chatty today. As always, head to our website, captainjohndoe.com, and you can submit your story right to our show, which is about what we're about to read right now. It is fully anonymous, so we don't even know your name. We don't have your email or nothing, so you can be so truthful about your best and worst experiences that you've ever had in aviation, whether you're a flight attendant, a pilot, a mechanic, or just a passenger in an FBO or a commercial terminal. We want to hear it all. You can submit anything. Follow us on social media. Be sure to subscribe. That way you don't miss an episode. And most importantly, how you can support us for totally freebie. In fact, you can gain something by doing this. Leave us a review and a rating. It's so helpful for us, for our podcast to be shown and pushed to other people that are searching for aviation podcasts. Kevin, hit them with it.
Compassion Flights gave us a 5-star review.
5 stars only.
My new favorite podcast. I've never subscribed to an aviation podcast, but follow several YouTube channels that mostly focus on accident investigation and training. Of course, I do follow Mindy, and I've always enjoyed and learned from her content. Thanks for such joyful and funny entertainment.
Thank you. Wow, we're your first subscription.
Wow, love that.
Truly, I mean, we do hear that from a lot of people, and I truly appreciate it. And I hope that everyone is enjoying this new style of, I don't want to say the word learning because it's not, you're not supposed to learn from us.
We are not
disclosure.
Teach.
We're not training. However, can we learn from other people's mistakes?
Always.
Yes. And I don't think that we have to be reading accident reports to be learning from mistakes.
No.
There's a lot of mistakes that all of us, even Kevin and I, have made. And we're lucky enough to still be here. And we can share the stories and learn from them and maybe even laugh a little along the way.
I love that.
Oh. So if you leave a review, you can DM us your name that you left the review under, and we'll add you to our merch drawing. We are doing a monthly merch drawing giveaway all year long in 2026. We're already halfway through, guys. So there's not a lot left. So be sure to enter the drawing. We're going to pick one winner on the 4th Wednesday of each month. You can enter for free by following us on Instagram. We have a giveaway post that you just comment on. It's so easy. Or leave us a podcast review, just like the one that we just read, and just hit us with a DM or an email letting us know that you did it. And that's it. It's open U.S. residents 18 and older. The full rules are linked on our Instagram bio or our website, captainjohndoe.com.
All right, let's get down with our first listener submitted story. Freshly 21 years old, the year is 2015. I've made a huge career change and joined the airlines as a flight attendant, hoping to eventually become a pilot down the line. Training completed, OE and all. It was off for my first ever trip block as a flight attendant. Now, I don't remember the entire trip schedule, but this particular airline loves to do short hops with many flights in one day.
Tell them how they spelt loves.
LUVS.
That's a hint. That's an Easter egg to the airline. Did you pick up on that? Do you know this?
No.
You don't?
Yes, I do. I just picked it up.
Okay. The Cowboys.
Yeah. Young and green, it didn't bother me at all. Day one had 4 flights, with the final flight of the day landing in Vegas.
Another Easter egg.
I am the C flight attendant, the middle cabin attendant on the 737. Another one.
Are you getting it yet, Kevin?
I got it already. Who sits up front on the front jump seat with the lead A flight attendant. We've passed through 10,000 feet on the approach to Vegas. All is going well. Cabin is now secure, or so we thought. Upon returning to the jump seat, a passenger bolts from row 6 to the front lab. Oh no. For those who don't know, pilots typically cannot land until everyone is seated and belted in. I consulted the lead attendant, and the two of us approached the front lab. We're getting no response from the passenger in the bathroom. The lead attendant grabs the phone and contacts the pilots to let them know what's happening. Upon her return, she says they told her to get them seated so we could land and to keep them apprised. That's a fun word. We're getting nowhere knocking on the lab door, and we're getting closer and closer to landing, passing through 5,000 feet. We decided to unlock the door from the outside. The 737 lab door is easily unlocked by the crew from the outside. Upon doing so, we learn the passenger, a tall man in his 30s, is dealing with some serious motion sickness. I remember telling this passenger that he needed to return to his seat as soon as he could, because we were landing. The quicker the motion sickness would go away if we got on the ground. We're now approaching 1,000 feet and need to get this figured out now. By the grace of God, the passenger relents and exits the lab. Immediately, I can tell he was not happy. We make eye contact. He flashes me a look of pure disdain and hatred. As he exits the lab, he shoulder checks me into the forward galley wall directly across from the lab. This is an extremely narrow space. As he proceeds down the aisle to his seat, in what seemed like a flash, he pulls something out of his pocket and throws it behind him with the flick of his wrist. This previously unknown object, now clearly a metal stylus, makes contact with my right eyebrow and slips my forehead open.
Oh my God.
I'm bleeding into my eye. Cannot see, and top it all off, the passenger is now in his seat, relentlessly beating the seat back. He's relentlessly beating the seat back of the poor passenger in front of him. Lead flight attendant calls the pilots as I'm standing in the forward galley attempting to grab paper towels. Apparently the pilots had enough, because the next thing I know, we're in a full go-around and I'm pinned to the floor galley wall as we toga out of the approach end of the Vegas airport. Long story short, Vegas police enter the plane, 10 strong, take this passenger off. Deplaning was a circus, and I was the main attraction. I left that flight feeling like, what the hell just happened? I lasted just shy of 6 months of a flight attendant before I again changed careers. I've now been a firefighter for 10 years and have one more good story to add at the dinner table. Wowzers.
What an asshole.
Yeah, what are we doing?
You know what I don't understand is people turn into animals, true animals at the airport and on aircraft. I understand people are stressed to fly, but everyone's morals and ethics and personal hygiene and common sense go out the freaking window, and nothing drives me insane more. And I just gotta say, this is why I'm not an airline galley. Like, everyone wanted me to be an airline pilot. I cannot stand these types of people. I would never last. I know pilots are up front in the cockpit. I get it. But how do you get to the cockpit? You got to walk through the terminal of animals. I can't do it.
All I know is, like...
Sorry. I know that's your, goal.
I know we're so involved in this, and, we understand the ramifications of, the risk involved in flying. But, the normal public knows when you land, that's dangerous. It is not a soft occurrence.
To my point, the common sense goes out the window. The fact that this guy was so pissed off that they said, sir, you need to sit down for us to land the aircraft that has hundreds of other people involved too. You're not the only one here. This is not your own private jet. And he got so mad that he threw something and hurt somebody and then threw a tantrum in his seat. Come on, these people shouldn't be allowed to fly.
They're not. You know how bad it is? If a flight attendant gets injured, it's considered an accident to the NTSB.
Good. So he should be on the no-fly list.
Is definitely on the no-fly list, and most likely...
At least at Southwest.
You said it.
I know.
They probably caught some charge. Who knows what happened, but they're definitely removed. So I can say this, in my air traffic days, I've only had it one time where a pilot broke off right before landing.
Right.
And I was kind of shocked. He comes on the radio and says, I remember switching him to tower because he was past the final approach fix. So people who don't know, that's 5 miles out. So they're landing in less than 2 minutes. And he came back and he's like, hey, approach, you need to send us back back around because somebody's in the bathroom. And I was kind of stunned. Like, training kicks in, I turn him out real quick, but then I'm like, you said he's in the bathroom? Like, yeah, you won't get back. And I'm like, oh,
maybe it was this.
Like, I don't want to get too in the weeds here, but how much money did that cost the company?
That's the most expensive poo-poo.
Like, I know people don't think about that, but I wouldn't be shocked if airlines come after stuff like that, where nothing that was the go around was strictly caused because of that. I mean, that's thousands and thousands of dollars.
I have two more thoughts. One that we didn't get in this story, I'm going to assume it happened, but they didn't write it, so I'm just going to bring it up, is if a person is having this severe motion sickness right there at the end, I feel like there was a little bit more problem solving that could have happened. Maybe it did, and it just wasn't in the story. So this is not a knock on whoever wrote it in. But first of all, why are we not equipping this person with a bunch of motion sickness bags and making sure that he's in an aisle seat when he gets back to his seat, like going back to the row saying, hey, like, let's make sure we don't put him in the middle or the window. Like, we need him on the aisle. That way he can like turn away from you guys and throw up potentially. But then my second thought is I would want him in the first like row or two. That way, right when it was safe to get back in the lab, that he would have that opportunity, and just equipping him for more success, even though he was a total brat, of just like maybe moving that person that was in the first or second row saying like, hey, this is kind of an emergency. Like, we cannot land. And so we need your seat. Can you go sit in this guy's seat?
I get what you're saying, but think about the time constraints there. Those flight attendants are worried about their own physical safety because, once again, for everybody listening, when a 737 lands, they're going 180 miles an hour.
I know, I get that, but they can't land if the guy's in the lab, so it's irrelevant.
Right, but I'm playing devil's advocate for the flight attendants. They're tasked with the extreme responsibility there to try to force somebody to sit down in seconds, realistically, because they didn't know the captain was going to go around. And that go around, you saw the flight attendant fell down. All this is... I get it.
Do you think that in addition to like the regular little motion sick bag, which looks like a tiny popcorn bag, like for these situations, they should have more of like a bucket available to make people a little more comfortable that they're going to make it into something?
I don't know how you solve this problem.
This is like irrelevant to the story. Do we think that in addition to the regular motion sick bags, that there should be like a puke bucket that's available for someone that's really going through it?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know how you solve motion sickness because no one's going to raise their hand and be like, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Flight Attendant. Well, no, people are, like you said, they act totally different. A lot of people probably don't know they get motion sickness.
I have one more grievance.
Go ahead.
How come, this is irrelevant to the story as well, but it just brought up this whole like last minute lab thing. Why on commercial flights are grown adults not aware of their own GI bowel pee system, bladder system? How come when they say like, hey, this is your last chance to go potty, like, hey, little kindergartners in the back, you got 20 minutes to go make a poo-poo. And then for some reason, every time when they're like, all right, belts on, we're landing in 10 minutes. Why does every freaking guy in 38C have to go potty all of a sudden? Why do these adults not know their own capability? And also, what I don't understand, I'm also not a snacky gal. I don't understand why people eat and drink so much on planes as if they're a 4-year-old on their first road trip.
We know the answer. There's one answer.
What?
They're stressed.
Like, why are we shoving down pounds of M&Ms and gummy worms like we're in the AMC theater for the first time and pounding down fridge cigarettes? Like, yeah, you're going to get explosive diarrhea in the coming moments. Like, what are we doing? We're adults. I'm on one today.
Is this your TED Talk?
Yeah, I'm on one today.
All right, go to the next story because we're not going to get anywhere.
Sorry, guys.
This is why you're not an airline girl.
I'm so passionate.
You got to have a little bit of compassion, okay?
No, I am so passionately not an airline girl.
I understand that people
I just can't.
Are going through it on that tube.
I can't stand people without common sense. Like, of course you had 6 Cokes you're going to have to pee. And why didn't you pee when you had the opportunity?
Someone said this to me the other day. It should resonate with everybody in the airline world. Nobody on that flight is choosing to be on that flight for fun, except the pilots. Everybody else on that flight is on that flight for a mission. Who cares what it is, but they're there because they need that transportation, and they're putting themselves through.
Why does that make bad behavior excusable?
We have gone through this in our ratings about stress, right? That's why people are not accustomed to.
People need to grow up.
This type of
over
pressure.
it. Okay, I'm over it.
Your
next,
turn.
Next.
Die.
Hi, Mindy. Hi, Kev. Here's a little story about my quite an eventful exam, the beginning of my flying life.
Ooh, a new exam. I like exams.
For 5 not very long months, my life followed a perfect flight plan. 1 flight a week, theory lessons every Sunday morning, no shortcuts, no skip briefings, no I'll study later. And somehow, miraculously, I timed it perfectly. My very last theory lesson and my very last practical flight landed exactly in the week of the scheduled exam. No extra lessons, no extra money, and a fantastic bright sun from the weather forecast in weeks of practically nothing but rain.
Impressive.
Just efficiency so precise that it deserved a logbook entry. I felt like a true pilot already. Then, on the Monday of exam week, my son, who goes to daycare, got sick. Fever, stomach issues, the works. I stayed home with him all week. Soon we discovered why. Gastroenteritis. This is tough for me. I'm not a doctor. Can you say that? Gastroenteritis. Gastroenteritis.
That's all I'm going to say.
Gosh, I sound like a monkey. I'm so sorry. GI problems was making laps around the daycare faster than a training circuit. Friday arrived. My son was finally fine. Saturday morning, the weekend at last, but my partner started vomiting. It was her turn, and I began to panic. Sunday morning, exam day, alarm clock, fantastic. Woke up charged, motivated, ready. I climbed the stairs for breakfast and realized I had no appetite. Just a gentle, suspicious wave of nausea. No problem, I thought. I swallowed a heroic amount of medication and headed out. Hey, man. I'm not going to call you out right here.
No, we're not. Just keep moving on.
Everyone's thinking it.
Just move on. It's anonymous.
I arrived at my flight school and immediately threw up.
Nice.
Still, I sat the theory exam. I finished first. He handed it in. I went to throw up again. A bit later, results. 0 mistakes, perfect score. While waiting for the other candidates to finish, I threw up again. Then came the practical exam. Everyone had passed the theory. The examiner announced that since we were a bit short on time, we'd do the pre-flight checks together, each student covering a part.
Excellent.
Fantastic. I agreed enthusiastically. Speed is good. Efficiency, good. Let's go. First student flew. Second student flew. Examiner asked, who's next? I practically jumped into the cockpit, almost stealing the slot from another student. Internal checks, engine start, holding point checks, throttle and takeoff. It was a winter day. Frost was still melting off of the runway. I turned crosswind, climbing with that typical winter climb rate that feels like cheating. Then, distracted by everything, I leveled off 100 feet too low on downwind. I noticed immediately. I announced it, explaining I'd descend less on base to compensate. Already time to slow down. Base turn, slight power reduction, final turn. At that moment, the examiner said, you can land directly if you're okay. No need to examine a go-around. Even happier, faster, perfect. I better set up this landing properly and not waste this opportunity. Aim point, adjust the descent rate, flare. I pulled just a little bit too much. The examiner started moving his hand towards the stick and then stopped. I corrected. He held it and then suddenly touched down smoothly, using far less runway than usual. Taxi to parking and the examiner complimented me. I shut down, stepped out. Only then did I realize how good those 5 minutes in the air felt. Holy adrenaline. It was now the other student's turn. While waiting, I decided to throw up again. I went to the school director, also my instructor, and I asked if I can skip not only the traditional post-exam lasagna, but also the long wait for the other students and just go home. We talked to the examiner and he agreed everything gone well and I could leave, but not before a preview of the final speech that he would give later to all of us. "This is only the beginning," he said. "In aviation, you never really arrive." That preview lasted 15 minutes. That felt longer than waiting for my turn during the practical exam. At some point, my instructor sensed my condition and reassured him. He has the right attitude. He's not the type who's going to feel finished that easy. I thanked the examiner and my instructor, said goodbye, and I went home, satisfied, exhausted, happy, swaying slightly. The best and worst morning of my life. P.S. Ironically, by the evening, I was already feeling perfectly fine again. Looking back at everything, this exam taught me exactly why you should never, ever fly in almost okay physical or mental conditions.
Yet, you decided to do it on an exam day.
You know what's most intriguing about this story to me?
What?
Is this exam day. They're obviously in another country.
Right, 100%.
So,
you said theory, so I immediately knew that was Europe.
So they're in another country. Obviously, we're in the U.S., if you can't tell by our American accents.
Are we?
So it's so strange to me that all they have to do is go fly one circuit, each student. And he's just like, next, take off, downwind, landing, get out of the airplane, next. That is so strange to me.
Yeah, I have to assume
they didn't do maneuvers.
Other days of maneuvers.
There must be multiple exam days.
Right. There's got to be. It's got to be many different types of checks, and that's just like your final walk through.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, they probably have a lot. I don't know. Whoever you are, you don't have to say who you are, but reach out and tell us where you're doing this from because I'm interested in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But back to your ending statement. No matter where you are, you know of the I'm Safe checklist because that is a universal thing. And I think your point was driven home. And unfortunately, like yourself, so many people put themselves in a situation and then realize why that checklist exists, right? You were fortunate that you had enough, internal, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and mansplain to you, but my point is a lot of people get in this situation where they don't know
when to call it. And probably after the second or third throw up, it's probably when to call it.
Yeah, I would say the second one is probably a good idea.
Yeah, the first one might have been some, pre-game jitters.
Yeah.
Second one, I don't know if we're getting past that.
Yeah, but he didn't throw up in the plane, which is crazy to me.
Adrenaline really is the best medication, though.
Yeah.
To his
point. On top of whatever else you took.
Yeah. Well.
Anonymous stories.
You know what? He didn't fly on medication because he threw it all up. So he's kiki. He's fine.
I love how you are just the opposite of me today.
What?
The first one you're all mad about the airline pilots.
I get not at airline pilots. I get ticked off at people. Passengers.
Well, what I want is you reach out to us, tell us where you're at, and then give us some information on how the Checkride process actually works, because this is that's so different than anything we do here. The only thing I can think of is maybe a 141 program where you do stage checks. But then if your ending exam is a circuit, I
love though that instructor made you sit through his, finale speech anyway. When you're like, hey, I'm throwing up. Can I go home? He's like, yes, but let me give you my speech. No one gets out of here without my egotistical speech.
You have just arrived.
God, I know exactly that type of speech.
Thank you for submitting this. Awesome.
Yes, great story. So we're going to go into a piece of advice before we wrap up today. So I'm going to read it because it's for you, Mr. Kev.
Okay.
My question is mainly for Kevin. I guess I will STF you.
Favorite host.
I recently purchased an aircraft and I had the option of installing a BRS parachute in it, and I will probably do it in the near future. I just want to do a little more research. I'd like to know when you're flying in the mountains and God forbid you have an engine failure type of emergency, if you see a strip that you think you can possibly make it to, where is your go or no-go decision with the BRS parachute system? By the way, I can't get enough of your stuff. I commute about 40 minutes to my hangar, and I'm usually there on Wednesday morning listening to you, and I'm really pissed that I missed you guys at Sun and Fun. Harry, the rusty pilot.
Well, thank you, Harry.
Thanks, Harry. But okay, hold on. Let me give a quick background to listeners before you answer. The BRS parachute, if you're not familiar, means that it is a built-in parachute system to the actual aircraft frame. And in the case of emergency, the pilot can pull a handle and a giant parachute will blast out of the ceiling of the aircraft and it'll float down like a nice little skydiver.
I'll say this. No matter what, if you have the ability to put a BRS parachute in your aircraft, because not all do, there is zero reason why you should not have that.
Why not?
Because you don't know.
No, I'm saying why not? Like, why would you not put it in?
I don't know why you wouldn't put it in. I'm saying, why would you not put it in?
Real quick, before you get to your no below decision point that he asked about, from my experience selling airplanes, he didn't say what type of plane he bought.
It said BRS parachute, so it's probably one of those experimental planes.
No, that could be put into like a 182.
You're right.
Which is the knowledge I'm about to drop on you, Kev.
Drop some knowledge on me.
I'm fairly sure in the 182 you cannot have air conditioning and a BRS parachute. There's CG issues. At least it used to be that way. I don't know if it still is. I haven't had anyone wanting to add a parachute to a 182 in a long time. But when I was selling them new, I recall that if air conditioning was installed on the plane, either you can't put the parachute in or you'd have to remove that very expensive air conditioner unit to put in a parachute because of the CG issues.
Okay.
Something to be aware of.
Either way, my point is still the same.
That's good knowledge.
That's great knowledge. If you have the ability to put it in, there's zero reason you should not put it in.
Yeah.
I'm giving up the AC for a parachute, and there's a $1,000.
No, you want to take out a $40,000 AC system.
Well, no. If I'm taking delivery of a new 180,
he already bought the plane. What if it already has AC?
Too many variables.
He might not know. He said he's got to do more research.
I'm trying to keep this tight.
I'm helping with the research.
I'm trying to keep this tight. If I have the ability,
I will fight you.
I'm putting a parachute in for thousands of reasons. Now to his question.
What's funny is we're on the same page.
Always, but different communication styles.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So to his question is, when do
Why are you getting so mad?
Because you keep driving me off track and now I forgot what I'm saying.
This is a conversation, not a dissertation.
Okay.
Okay, let me say, where is your go or no-go decision with the parachute system?
So my only experience with parachutes in the Cirrus. Cirrus has hard limitations on the parachute in the current models. I know the older ones are different, but in the G6s and newer, 600 feet AGL is where you can pull the parachute. So anything below that, you're on your own. So with that being said, you know, when we're doing an instrument approach, we have a MDA or a DH where we have to decide. So with a parachute, you need to have a decide altitude. Now, what I teach because of what Cirrus teaches is that was 2,000 feet AGL.
Right, because you need time to actually perform that operation.
Right, but also you need to decide because at 2,000 feet, I'm pulling the parachute or I'm landing the airplane. Period. There's no question. You cannot be waffling because when we're shooting an approach that's at minimums, we need to be able to see the airport to continue, right? Same thing goes with a parachute. If you have not decided by 2,000 feet you're landing that airplane, now you can always pull the parachute, right? But that's not the point. The point is
when do you, it says where is your go or no-go decision and where is it? It's at 2,000 feet AGL.
Because there's 1,000 different scenarios. You're going to say, what if you're at 1,500 feet and you're in the climb and you lose your engine? I get it.
Yeah. But general rule of thumb.
You're asking for a general rule of thumb. The other general rule of thumb is I would ask all my new owners this question because this question got asked every single flight is when do you pull the parachute? Can you guarantee that you're going to be able to land this airplane on a runway? Can you guarantee it? If the answer is yes, okay. But you can't guarantee that 99.999% of the time. So then that relies back on the 2,000 feet decision altitude.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a position to land the airplane, you're a pilot. You should be able to dead stick your airplane on a runway.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're not, you have a get out of jail free card that is unbelievable, and you should use that equipment. And I 100% will advocate on that behalf. I was always ready as an instructor to pull that parachute. Even though I knew that airplane better than anything else, I knew I could probably land it on safely off airport. That airplane is not made to land off airport. A 182 is different, right? Things are different, but it doesn't matter. The point is you need to have a decision altitude.
Yeah.
Period. That's the point you should take away.
I like it. Well, thank you for writing in your advice question. To everyone else, keep submitting your questions. I really enjoy the advice part, so keep those coming. And we're going to be signing off. By the way, we had a live audience today.
Oh,
we got a little puppy dog here. It's not ours. Nice. We're at a friend's house, which we're going to leave you guys with a little Easter egg. We're at a friend's house because we're in a city that's not our own. And we're here for a very specific career reason for Mr. Kevs. So hopefully he'll be willing to share with you guys soon.
Time zone's a little different too.
Yeah, different time zones.
See ya.
Big changes.
Bye.
Don't make any big changes on final.
Oh, stop.
Thanks for flying with Captain John Doe. If you have a story to share, visit CaptainJohnDoe.com and stay anonymous. New episodes every Wednesday. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and tell your favorite crew members.